The May stats for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are out, and we have some big changes. Dragon types continue to reign supreme, as Dragonite, Baxcalibur, Roaring Moon, and Dragapult are all top 10 in usage. Greninja, due to its Protean nerf and lack of Battle Bond, has finally fallen from OU to UU, as well as other starter Pokemon like Typhlosion and Samurott. With the recent banning of Shed-Tail, Cyclizar also couldn't cut it in the OU tier and fell to UU. And Hawlucha, the deadly unburdened sweeper, who was OU in previous generations, has now fallen off due to no Tapus and is RU. So let's take a closer look at the May stat changes for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We have so much to talk about today when it comes to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and the usage stats and the tier changes. I'll have timestamps down below if you want to just flip through whatever you want to hear about. We'll be starting off with OU, and then we'll be getting off to the OU drops to UU, the UU drops to RU, the RU drops to NU, and then some of the rises as well alongside this. So if you like this content, let me know by leaving a like. I know I'm a little bit late on this, but had a busy week. So we're going to start with OU. All right, so first off, let's compare OU to previous OU the month before. Great Tusk now has a slight more usage. Same thing with Gambit, Valiant. All three are the same exact thing. Golden Go fell off just a little bit slightly, whereas Dragapult is almost overtaking Golden Go. So the first 5 are the same. The first 6 are actually the same. As we can see here, though, Roaring Moon has slightly dropped off in usage, which is really interesting considering Roaring Moon was very much considered broken previously, but this is because Earthworm or Shed-Tail was banned. So that's why Earthworm usage is dropping off. In fact, if Shed-Tail had been banned earlier in the month, Earthworm would be UU alongside Cyclizar, which we'll discuss in a bit. But that's why Roaring Moon usage has slightly dropped off. We don't see Meowscarada anymore in the top 10 either, as it's number 13 now. And then we have Corviknight pulling back up, which is great to see. I mean, if you look at everything in the top 7, the only mons that really can break Corviknight are Golden Go and Val. For the most part, like Corviknight can sit on King Gambit, Great Tusk, Dragonite, some variations of Dragapult depending on its Terra type. And then we're seeing Iron Moth replacing Hatterene as well, which is really cool to see. A lot of people are using Specs. I know Toxic Spikes is rising more in popularity. I know also Booster Energy just by itself, right? Doesn't need Shed-Tail support to be really good. And Specs and Sun is like a baby Chi-Yu. So really cool to see that. If we look over to number 34, Treads is just barely holding on. I do want to say one thing though. Who the hell is using Breloom in OU right now? Who is using it? I have played so many games of OU with myself and my friends, and I don't ever see Breloom on the ladder. Like, I don't. Obviously, Gargan number 17, which is pretty cool compared to Gargan number 20 here. So Garg is starting to really rise up in usage. Curse Guard is really good again. With no more Shed-Tail to take advantage of Salt Cure and then have your homies set up. That just gets way better. Toxapex has jumped from number 21 to number 14. A lot of people are using Assault Vest Toxapex with offensive EVs, with Infestation, Sludge Bomb, Surf, and then your last move is either Ice Beam, Acid Spray, whatever coverage you want, Terra Blast Fighting, whatever coverage you want to really allow you to break through what you need to, right? This thing can infestate Among Us and with good sleep turns, beat it 1v1 or keep it very low. And we see even Sun starting to have a slight shift down, right? Number 30. Ceruledge, though, is still being used, which is really cool to see, like the bulk up in Swords Dance sets. And then Slowking starting to shift back even more. And this is because Walking Wake isn't a problem, right? It's not. It just, whatever you have, just randomly, it deals with it, right? It's not as great. That's to worry about Dragonite. That's to worry about Gambit Sucker. I think it's still good. Don't get me wrong. It's just not great. And Walking Wake is the main reason to use Slowking, even though it did stay number 32 in usage alongside there. Hisui and Zoroark starting to fall off slightly as well from number 26 to number 33. But, I want to give a big shout out to Treads for just kind of holding it down. I know UU would love to have you. My God, UU would love to have you. But to see it still staying up there on the opposite side of its brother or cousin or whatever you want to call it, Great Tusk is really cool to see. But again, the underwear mons are slowly still being good. And the fact that Masquerade still up here is really good. The fact that Ace is here is really cool. Really good core changer. Obviously, that's like the best. Ace is so good at utility, man, on your teams. Like, it's insane how good Ace is at just what it does, right? They nerf Liberal, but it doesn't even matter because it's just court changing. They usually run like max HP or some bulky EVs and things like that. Azu still being solid right here. If we look at the actual, not there, but excuse me, the tier changes from OU to UU, we see Armarouge, Cyclizar, Greninja, Samurott, and Typhlosion drop. Now, there's one Pokemon there that kind of stands out, and it's like, it's Greninja, right? Well, there's also Cyclizar, but we'll talk about that in a second. So, Greninja falling off is really, really, really hard to wrap my brain around, right? Like, it's really hard to wrap my brain around, but at the same time, an offensive water, first off, there's no Battle Ball, all right? Let's get that. That makes a big difference. Secondly, they nerf Battle Ball. Well, I don't know if it's nerf technically, because you get like super high stats, but then it's also like a Quiver Dance every single time you get a kill. So which one? I don't know which one, if it's a nerf or not. And Quiver Dance, I mean, no, it's attack, special attack, and speed. So like a baby Quiver Dance. Well, no special defense, or a buff Quiver Dance, depending on how you look at it. So offensive waters that are special attackers are not that great, right? Like, Gren is cool, but Gren is not breaking through Assault Vest Pex, which is number 14 in usage. Gren allows backs to set up, depending on what I said, Dragonite can set up as well. If I want a special attacking water, why would I not use Walking Wake, who is not weakened in Sun, right? It gets a special attack raise, Hydro Steam goes from 80 to 120 base power. Why would I not use that? Literally. I think when Gren first came out, it was cool. And I don't know how long it's going to last in UU, especially because UU does have Pelipper, so it does have Rain. But I don't think it's in a good place right now. Especially because, yeah, it's like, it's strong. Don't get me wrong, it's strong. But let's compare it to Inteleon, which just came out, which is also another one that will drop to UU eventually. But Inteleon's stronger and actually can... Inteleon with... because it's just slightly stronger in the Rain, it actually can muscle through Pex, Assault Vest Pex, with a Hydro Pump in the Rain to next to a Terra Hydro Pump, which Stealth Rock, whereas Greninja can't actually, Terra Water, excuse me, whereas Greninja actually cannot do that to AV Pex, but that's just something I witnessed live when I was, yesterday I met Mr. Jamved for the first time in my life, and I've known him for over 10 years, and it was me, CTC, Blunder, and Jam hanging out. It was a great time, and the reason I'm saying that is because he was using Inteleon on the ladder, and it was really fun to see him like break through Pexes and stuff. There's this one replay that I hope he saved, where it kind of just literally kills everything on the team, and the opponent was like almost 2,000 points on the ladder. But Gren, just not as great as it was. If Protean was not nerfed, and it can click Ice Beam on Amoonguss switching in and get stabbed, and then click Grass Knot on none of the waters, because all the waters don't take any damage from Grass Knot for the most part, except for Dozo, and I guess technically Walking Wake, then that'd be great too. But the Protean nerf, pretty big for it. And just like I said, offensive waters are just not that great. No Battle Bond either. I'm sure, especially because the metagame has shifted, right? Guard is running Curse again with water, and Greninja, if it clicks Hydro Pump, it can click Grass Knot, but it's not going to have the stab on it. It's forced to switch out, taking hazards. So much priority as well in the top 10 of Pokemon, and also just speed that actually hits higher, or like booster energies or things like that set up for backs. Greninja falling down to UU, it's wild to see, but it's understandable in the tier. And we'll talk about how it looks in UU in a second as well. But then we have Armarouge. Armarouge falling down the UU. Now, this is pretty big. This is pretty big because if we look at the UU tier, well, first off, let's talk about why it fell off in OU. It's Psychic Spam is not as great. It's just not. Like, I think it's good cheese, but it's honestly not good outside of that, in my opinion. By that I mean that it's Tinglu's on the rise, right? Meow is there. Roaring Moon's all the way up there. I don't think, and Gambit obviously being up there, I don't think that Psychic Spam, which is like the main reason why Armarouge is there, is just good. I just don't think it runs Sash, it has to run Poltergeist, it depends on, like, it's cheese. It's cheese. And there's nothing wrong with cheese. I love cheese, man. I'm Italian. But, like, there's nothing wrong with cheese in Pokemon either, because I love that too, because I'm Italian. But the Puerto Rican side actually loves that more than I think the Italian side on OU. But the fact, what am I saying? The fact that it relies on Hat to block hazards and speed boost Great Tusk, which is so weak, right? If you want to get a speed boost on Great Tusk with booster, you have to drop your attack all the way down. Like, it's so weak. It's just not, it's not consistent. It's not good. If I'm going to cheese somebody, I I mean, that's not even cheese at that point, but I'd rather run like 6 booster energy Pokemon, if anything. And the thing is, too, there are so many good fire types when it comes to the OU tier, right? You have Volcarona, Skeleturge, Torkoal Cerulege, Iron Moth, obviously. King Gambit is right there. Some Dragonites as well. Like, there's so many Pokemon that can tank these hits. And don't get me wrong, Expanding Force and Psychic Terrain is really good too. But I think the biggest thing as well, it forces you to use Indeedee. If Tapu Lele was around, I think Armarouge would still be OU. I'm so serious, because I have to use a bad Pokemon in Indeedee, and bad by OU standards, not bad in general, right? Healing Wish, Psychic Terrain, Strong Psychics, all cool, Encore, all good, right? Very good moves, just not on a great Pokemon. It's funny because it's just as fast as Tapu Lele, but it's not as strong. Doesn't have good dual stab. Like, normal stab is not that great when it comes to OU. There's only one normal type in the OU tier, and that's Hisuian Zoroark. And while it does sometimes run Hyper Voice on specs, it's getting away with it because of its ghost typing and the fact that it has those immunities. So normal typing is just not as good. So Armarouge falling off from there. And we'll talk about the other two before we get to Big Cyclizar in a second, because that was unfortunate why it fell. But I mean, it was going to fall eventually. So Samurott, yeah, I mean, you guys saw me use Samurott. It was good. It was actually good when I used it on Rain. But that's because I doubled around. Had that Pokemon been literally any water type, Greninja, Inteleon, Walking Wake, and I was doubling on those opponents, I would have got the kills too. It's just not a good Mon. Its stats are bad. Hisuian Samurott, though. Like, if it had the same thing as Hisuian Samurott, now Hisuian Samurott is just slightly stronger and faster. Just literally slightly. They swapped the attack with special attack, which is good, right? And it's just slightly faster, which makes a big difference, right? Base 70 versus base 85 is a huge difference. One of them speed ties with Golden Go and also has dual stab. Being pure water, there's nothing wrong with being pure water. If I have to list the water types on the top of my head when it comes to OU, right? You got Great Tusk, you got Corviknight right there, Hatterene. So like, there's a bunch of great pure water types in the OU tier. However, being pure water first is not that great unless you have something going for you like Dozo, where it's unaware, the only true water type on that, where it has like Unaware and Curse and Wave Crash. So this thing does have Swords Dance and it does have Aqua Jet, but Aqua Jet isn't as great right now in priority. It's just not bulky enough to really be able to tank hits. It fell down to UU. I don't have to. Do I have to explain why a Samurott fell? Like, anyway, Typhlosion as well. It's a cool addition to Sun. Typhlosion is a very cool addition to Sun. Don't get me wrong, those Choice Specs eruptions and Choice Scarf eruptions are strong. But this Mon is only being good on Sun, because if you run Scarf, then like you're weaker versus Balance, which is the matchup that Typhlosion wants to face when it plays with Sun, right? I did a video with Typhlosion, and the matchup that I wanted to face was fatter Pokemon, because then I could actually Terra Fire and click Eruption and get the boost. We're on Pokemon Showdown, by the way. I should have said that a long time ago. This is a free site where you can play Pokemon, like, literally for free. And you can, like, do all your EVs and everything. I keep forgetting to explain this immediately, because I think that it's worth explaining, because that's how more people get into it. So I apologize. But PokemonShowdown.com, very easy to just... This is me EV training my Pokemon. There you go. Did not take all my time. And I had to quit my job to do it. But exaggeration, obviously. Like, it's a lot easier now than it was. But yeah, Typhlosion really wants to fight those teams that have things like Clodsire and Corviknight, like those very bulkier, slow teams that have like one fast Pokemon, typically Dragapult on them, or Golden Go. It wants to fight those if it's Specs, and if it's Scarf, it wants to fight offense. It's really hard to get the good matchup, and it's also, Sun is very, I don't want to say solved, but it feels solved. And by that I mean there's a tried and true Sun, right? This is your tried and true Sun right now. You got Hatterene, you got Great Tusk for the attack, for the spin. Obviously Torkoal, typically Roaring Moon, which is banded, which gets the speed boost, and Walking Wake as well. And then your last is kind of the toss-up, but a lot of people like to use Cerulege because it gets the weak armor. This is typical Sun. This is typical Sun, right? You might see an occasional other fire type here, but that is, or even a Pult as well. Iron Moth. Like this or Volcarona, this is typical Sun, right? The first 5 are basically a given when it comes to Sun, at least on the offensive slot. So you have to give up something for Typhlosion. Now, at least being a ghost type, you can block spin. You usually focus sash, so you can actually Destiny Bond as well, or Solar Blade, but you can deal with Great Tusk. Typhlosion doesn't give you any defensive capability being a pure fire type, whereas Torkoal is giving you Stealth Rock, Rapid Spin, and Sun for the team being a pure fire type. I know I'm going in depth on why the hell Typhlosion is not OU, and it's like, guys, it's Typhlosion, Joey, we know. I know, but a Pokemon like Samurai is different than a Pokemon like Typhlosion. Typhlosion actually has a niche because the Terrafire eruptions are insanely strong, right? They're comparable to Chi-Yu's flamethrowers and Fire Blast. Not specs and Sun, obviously, but like just in specs versus eruption. There's a comparison. There's a comparison there to be made. Also, real quick, guys, if you didn't know, I do have Draco Shakers available if you use code AIM. I'm really liking what I'm talking about today, by the way. I'm really into this today. I don't know why, but I mean, I'm always into Pokemon, but I feel like really into what I'm talking about. Maybe because I love Typhlosion. But guys, we sold over 600 of my Draco Shakers so far, which is amazing. That's like half the stock, which is actually so cool. So if you guys want to pick them up, make sure you use code AIM. Link is down below. You support me and the channel. And if you want to pick up anything Advanced GG, it's caffeinated energy drink, so 18 plus. They do have non-caffeinated options if you want to try it out. If you do want to try caffeinated, I suggest like the Taro bubble tea. It tastes just like bubble tea, but it just gives you a little oomph from there. But lastly, appreciate y'all. But lastly, but not leastly, last but not least, Cyclizar. Why did Cyclizar fall, and why didn't Orthworm fall? Very, 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 very easy thing that I mentioned before. All right, Orthworm's main role in OU is to shed tail, or was to shed tail, and shed tail got banned. But why isn't Orthworm banned? Well, because shed tail got banned towards the end of the month, right? And Cyclizar was just allowed at the end of the month. So Orthworm had the whole month of usage before that. Therefore, Orthworm stays OU. Cyclizar did not have that luxury. Cyclizar was recently unbanned, very recently unbanned, because of the banning of Shed Tail. They're like, oh wait, there's no reason to ban Cyclizar because it's actually Shed Tail that's broken. Who knew a move that essentially is Baton Pass with a substitute would be broken when we've had Baton Pass banned forever? Who knew? Whoa, mind blown. Jokes aside, I mean, me, Blunder, a bunch of other people have been preaching that it's... I mean, everybody knows the Shed Tail that was broken on Cyclizar. It wasn't Cyclizar. Obviously, Cyclizar being able to get multiple Shed Tails because of Regenerator was really good, and having the Rapid Spin and Knockoff and all that utility, really good too. But then the slow Shed Tails are arguably better because Orthworm eats the hit, and then the Pokemon comes in with the free sub. Anyway, that's me on Shed Tail. But Cyclizar came out, like, what, 7 days ago, before the month, so 10 days, did not have enough usage to stay OU, especially because it didn't come back with Shed Tail, so I used it as a Tornadus. However, in UU, looks really cool, and that's when we'll be transitioning to the UU tier. So in UU, Cyclizar looks incredible, right? Cyclizar looks incredible. It's basically the Tornadus Therian of UU. Has Regenerator, can run AV or Boots, will be a Rapid Spinner, faster than Gengar is very important, can easily, I don't know what Terra type it will run, can easily, then this is the first, you're always going to have these moves, I think, on a Cyclizar, always. It doesn't have to be Assault Vest, it can be Boots, but if we look at the UU tier, stats pot. I don't know why I wrote that, but it feels like it's I guess. But we're transitioning, right? So there'll be a timestamp right here. If you look at the UU tier, just comes in on Alamola, knocks off Rapid Spins, can knock off Bramblegeist. Probably can run Overheat, to be honest, as last over Draco. Overheat being able to smush Bramblegeist after knockoff, do a little bit of damage to Tinkaton, deal with Fortress. I think Overheat makes a lot of sense. You can also run Terra Blast or what, Surf? Do you have Surf? Do you not learn Surf? I saw Aqua Tail, but that's... Nobody likes running Aqua Tail as usual. Dog's having fun, by the way. Gonna let them. They're gonna be here for what, 12 more years of my life? I don't know. They're gonna have as much fun as they want. They're just playing with each other. But anyway, I think this set looks insane in the tier. You can probably even cheese some Terra Blast Grass, or it has power. But what I'm saying, for if your team is weak to Gastrodon, if you don't want U-turn, which I think U-turn momentum is incredible. I think the big thing about this is the speed tier, right? I think it's gonna be like a blessing for this tier. Absolutely gonna be a blessing for this tier. Maybe Terra Ghost, Terra Fairy, Terra Water is always good to become a water type. Being your dragon type, like you switching on Kilowattrel, which actually just moved up and we'll look a little bit, but it's going to be really, really good. Can Rapid Spin, good support for the tier. If we actually look at the full usage stats as well, Scizor is number 1. Well, there I got Overheat for you. Sandy Shocks, I Rapid Spin easily on you. Quacklevolt, please don't sweep me. Talonflame, I don't care about the burn, I'll knock you off. Rocks will do the damage later. Iron Jugulus, Assault Vest can help. Tinkaton, knock off, switch the hell out. Salamence, I can threaten with Draco. Gengar, I can easily eat a hit and deal with knockoff. Pelipper Rain, God, that's scary. Wo-Chan, you knock it off and you turn out. So, like, it's really, really good versus the top 10 usage of UU. So I think that it's going to be an incredible mon in UU. Let's go to Armarouge next. We'll talk about Greninja in a sec, but Armarouge also looks insane in UU, and this is why. Here's why. Well, there's Psychic Spam, basically, right? UU has Psychic Spam. You can literally... I have a UU Psychic Spam team that I tried as well. Now, it probably wasn't as great because it was just random as hell, but, like... Look at this. Look at this. Indeedee's down here. Armarouge. You can run Poltergeist, Espeon with the dual screens, Lucha, and then your last can be whatever it is. This can be Scizor, this can be Tinkaton, this can be whatever. Basically, I don't think everything here is set in stone, but you can Psychic Spam just like you could have in the OU tiers. So it's going to be really strong. And being a Psychic type that doesn't care about Wo-Chan, I think is a very, 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 very strong thing when it comes to Armarouge. Also, it's bulky. Like, it's literally bulky. 100 defense, 80 special defense, 85 HP. They gave this thing good stats. They did. Only its speed, it's what's holding it back. But they gave it very good stats. I want to draft this Pokemon. Okay, maybe next time I will. But yeah, they gave it very good stats. And obviously, that's just the cheese set, right? It's not even, maybe it's not even cheese down there. But the other set that can work, which is another cheese set, is the Combine Iron Defense, Stored Power, and then Flamethrower can work, or Armor, or Aura Sphere, depending on the tier. I think in OU you need Aura Sphere because of Garg and other Pokemon. But Flamethrower can work too. So you can run this with Weakness Policy and Weak Armor, and it can easily, like, first off, this dude switches in on Tinkaton's knockoff, right? It switches in on Bullet Punches, Bullet Punches from Scizor. So you can easily get your boost. You can even run, like, Terra Water so you don't get cooked by Quacklevolt, and then you kind of just sweep from there. So I think Armarouge is going to be a nasty little guy in the... I don't know why I call him little. My bad. That's condescending. It's going to be a nasty big fire guy in the UU tier. I think it's going to be super strong in UU. And I think that... Sorry, I just be clicking through these things so I don't remember where I put them. And I think it's going to be good. I think it's definitely going to be good. Same thing with Cyclizar. Greninja is really interesting because Rain is allowed in UU. I think it's going to be spammable with specs. I think Protean... the fact that it has Grass Knot, which is really big, is nice for Gastrodon and stuff like that, so it actually can muscle through. And if we look at UU, right, you have the Grass Knot, you have your Ice Beam stab, so I think that Protean is going to be really good. I think that on Rain, Greninja is going to be a nuke, clicking Hydro Pump and stuff like that. Obviously, it has competition when it comes to Rain, and we'll talk a little bit about what rose up to UU in a sec. But for Rain, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Grass Knot. You don't really need Dark Pulse on this set. Like, it's okay neutral for Slowbro, but you have Grass Knot for that anyway. However, if you are running it with Protean, maybe you do run Dark Pulse just because Protean, if you go like Ice Beam, you don't have the stab on this, or excuse me, if you go Hydro Pump, I guess you don't get the stab anyway, right? So maybe you don't even run this, or you could run it on Torrent too with Extra Belt, Life Orb. I don't like Life Orb too much on Pokemon because why would you want your Pokemon to die? But unless it's like a mixed breaker like Mence with Roots with Longevity. But something like this could definitely be good. Specs Greninja, obviously, maybe not as good because Gastrodon is there, so you have to predict when it comes to Gastro, but still pretty decent, right? It's wild to see this mon in the UU tier. And then, of course, we do have Samurai. I don't think Samurai's going to find a place. In terms of offensive Swords Dancing Waters, you have the most competition ever from Quacklevolt, right? And that mon can boost its speed, something Samurai can't do. I'll be real, I think Samurai will be cool, cool little tech on Rain, right? If you want to have a fun video or you want to have a cool team. Don't think it's going to be anything that's actually... How are you doing in my team builder? Don't think it's going to actually be anything that is really like, oh man, this mon is going to break this tier. No, not at all. I think Samurai's going to continue to fall down. And then kind of similar with Typhlosion, if Sun was allowed in this tier, then Typhlosion would be good, right? Because you'd have, if Torkoal was basically you'd have your Torkoal, you have your Typhlosion, you could have Espeon for the magic bounce, kind of like the Hatterene. Then you have Screamtail for defensive support, Slitherwing for the attack raise. Like, you have a lot of tools for Sun, but you don't have Sun. And Manio Sun, like, if I'm running Manio Sun, I'm not going to put a Typhlosion on it. All right, I'm already struggling to run Sun as it is if I'm running Manio Sun. So I think Typhlosion is also going to be another Pokemon that goes down. And then let's look at from RU to UU. This is kind of wild, right? So from RU to UU, and then from NU to UU. Actually, let's look at the NU to UU. Well, let's look at all three. From RU to UU and NU to UU, literally Rainmons went up, besides Slowbro. The Rainmons have ended up in the tier. So let's look at Kilowattrel and Floatzel first. They make sense. Kilowattrel is like Jolteon, but actually decent, which is cool to see, right? It's fast, it's strong, and it actually has good dual stab prior to terrestrializing, whereas Jolteon has Calm Mind and things like that there. But it's basically Rain. This is literally Rain, right? Pelipper is UU, and then the Rainmons rose up. That's like the big thing about that, why this Pokemon is UU. And then Slowbro is similar, but not really. It's more so because Quacklevolt is insane in this tier. So Slowbro rose up specifically to sit on that Pokemon. That's the story, right? It's Rain, it's that. And then this is pretty big though, because RU lost its #1 Pokemon. RU literally lost its #1 Pokemon in the tier, which is Slowbro. So RU lost its best Pokemon in the tier. Now, Slowbro was #1 because it sat on Flamigo, and Flamigo was indeed banned from the tier very recently. Flamigo was banned from the tier before the tier shift. So, I mean, if it wasn't banned then, it would have been banned after, right? Like, you literally lost your best answer to Flamigo. And Flamigo was, you know, the Terra Stab and all that stuff. Close combats were free. Swords and sets could break through Slowbro. You literally lost your best answer, right? So, luckily, that Mon fell off before, or excuse me, left before. Kilowattrel is really interesting because I actually thought Kilowattrel was very strong in the RU tier. Volt switches and Hurricanes. Yeah, you have Sylveon for defense support and like Belly Bolt and stuff, but I still think it was very strong, especially when I was playing RU a decent chunk. But yeah, the Rainmons moved up, and then Slowbro, which is pretty big. And then from UU to RU, this is what gets really interesting, right? Because there's two Pokemon there that don't look like they should ever fall. Well, let's talk about the one that should have fallen, right? So Grafai fell off in UU, and that's only because Espathra which was UU a long time ago. Actually surprised it took this long for Grafai to fall down. My reason being is, yes, it's a good Encore Mon, but its best case was being Terra Dark and forcing Espathra when it was UU. Crazy, right? That Mon was UU. People really slept. But forcing that Mon to Calm Mind again, if it Terra Darked it, walled Espathra, could knock off, could do Blender just sets up, just my bad recording. Could knock off, could do things like that. And it's just, it's not that great, right? And then you have the Unburdened sets with Swords Dance, which look pretty cool in RU, especially because Slowbro is gone. So let's look at the RU tier. But yeah, basically it just wasn't as good at what it does. It's supposed to be an Encore Mon that does cool things, but then you can run also Swords Dance, Unburdened sets, which I think are really cool too. But then when we look at RU, doesn't look that bad, right? Stops the Titan after Belly Drums, can Encore, not really. Because if the Titan Belly Drums is Ice, then Ice Shard will go before, because the same priority. It's okay. I don't know. Sits on Sylveon though, which I think is pretty cool. I think knockoff support is incredible. I think knockoff support is absolutely incredible though. So like a knockoff Parting Shot, kind of similar to what Reverum does, except it gets a T-Spikes, can absorb T-Spikes too. Taunt, U-turn. I'm sure Swords Dance has a potential place. But yeah, being able to knock off and do a round, I think that's it. But yeah, it was not going to be as great in UU with the Mons banned. Two Pokemon fell off that are insane, right? So let's talk about Hawlucha and Poltergeist. First off, Hawlucha and Poltergeist were both quick banned, right? And we knew they'd be quick banned. You cannot have the damn Lucha, the Mon that's been UUBL and OU for like the past 3 generations, be RU. I know Coco being there is not enough for it and things like that, but like there's no freaking way Lucha and Poltergeist were going to stay. Literally, there's no way. Poltergeist has Shell Smash with Terra, absolutely broken. In the lower tier setting, right? It's pretty nasty in higher tiers as well. And then Lucha can do the same thing. It's funny to see how Lucha fall off though, from UU, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, first off, if I want a fighting type in UU, I'm going to use Quacklevolt. Right? Always. Lucha can boost its speed, but it has to get unburdened. Whereas Quacklevolt can just use Aqua Step, boost its attack and speed in the same one because of Moxie, and go through there. Slowbro risen up, has trouble breaking through Mons with screens. Is okay on screens itself, but again has to boost. Talonflame's faster. Can Will-O-Wisp. Has to deal with the booster energy Mons like Click Hurricane, aka Iron Jugulus. It's just not as strong. I feel like Poltergeist suffers a similar fate, right? I think the big thing as well is Scizor. Scizor went down to the tier, so the strong bullet punches either Bandit or the Swords or Cantera. It's a little bit hit. I think those are really big. Tyranitar, you have to Terra Fight to do that. You fighting type, which isn't bad. But then you're weak to like Tinkaton can live a +2 Shadow Ball easily, and Encore and lock you into that. And there's Dark types in this tier. Yeah, I just don't think Poltergeist would be great. But like when it comes to RU, not much to talk about. They already got banned. Right? They're broken Mons. They're just broken Mons, man. Nobody wants to set up with Unburden. I do. The first thing I would have done was check for ways to set up screens in RU, and then I would have proceeded to set up screens in RU. Yeah, obviously. And then I would have just tried to sweep with these guys, plus the Titan, and plus like Hale. Oh, and my team would have been Abomasnow, the Titan, Cloyster, Hawlucha, Poltergeist, and Iron Thorns, which is the drop we're going to be talking about next. So Iron Thorns fell off from UU. Honestly, its biggest thing in UU, in my opinion, was the Loaded Dice Terra Pin Muscle set. Because then you get stabbed with Bug if you Terra Bug, and then you get the Pin Missile, and then you get that and that. But it's just not good as a Dragon Dancer. Gyarados is so good in UU because it has Moxie, like it's boosting its attack while it's also Dragon Dancing, while it's also getting up kills. Quackable doing the exact same thing. While I don't think Mence is that great of a Dragon Dancer personally, but it's still good. But it's just a big thing, right? Like Iron Thorns really was in a bad spot when it came to UU. But in RU, I don't know, man. RU might be good. It might be good in RU, man. Like these Veil teams, like I was just talking about, like Dragon Dance. The thing is, Rock, and I think a Terra Bug as well, is just so freaking good. Look at this entire tier. You got the Pin Missile for the Crocodile, while you also resist the Earthquake. You'd also Terra Flying as well. And then you have your rock plus stat coverage. If you go ground coverage or electric coverage, you kind of miss out on Palisand. Anyway, it's not Tyranitar. It's crazy to see Baby Titar or Mecha Titar fall this low. But I definitely think Dragon Dance sets kind of look insane. It's a nasty Pokemon when it comes to this tier. And I want to say the big thing as well when it comes to it is that it's actually decently fast. Like it's faster than Weavile +1 if you run Jolly. Right? This will definitely be something I use in Alive for sure. I'll definitely be using Iron Thorns in Alive. Coming very soon. Let me actually tell Skarzig right now so I don't forget if he can draw an insane Iron Thorns thumbnail. I'm glad you guys like the I was gonna ask, what do you think about this? It's punching Yoshi who's broken. Yeah. Hold up. Let me respond to Blunder real quick. But yeah, it just sounds like a really solid mod in RU. Also, in terms of what rose up to RU from UU, Indeedee moved up to RU. Now, the thing about Indeedee is it's actually not being what was it? Let's look at RU real quick. Right, we'll talk about Indeedee in 1 second because I think I just closed the page. Okay, I misspoke for a second. So from RU to NU, they fell. Let's talk about a few things. First off, RU real quick is suspect testing Oricorio Pom Pom, which is very funny because we just saw that mom put it in work in OU. I was actually, like I said, I met Jam IRL, was chilling with Blunder. We had some good teriyaki chicken. We were just talking about Pokemon. Because, of course, I walk into the house, and these dudes both have their laptops out, and they're playing Pokemon. You know, CTC left me at the... Because, so I parked at a car garage, and CTC was like, yo, okay, we're going to come get you right after this ladder match. It took me about 10 minutes to park at that car garage because the guy was a little bit older, and he was just taking his time and everything. You know, whatever. I have patience. Who cares? And then, this is... CTC calls me, right? 5 minutes after that, it's like, yo, did you park? It's like, yeah, I'm walking towards you guys. It's like, okay, cool. Sorry, we had a big ladder match. And I was like, yeah, I know you had a big ladder match. That's what you get for loading up Garganical Curse with some defensive great Tusk Corviknight crap. He's like, how did you know? And I'm literally, obviously, you know, basically he didn't come get me because it took him 15 minutes to win with a team that he was using. And then I walk in and they're doing the exact same. It's just very funny that I joined the Discord call IRL, right? I just thought that was really funny. But anyway, Oricorio Pom Pom being such tested about damn time. I told you these mons are like nasty in every damn tier they're in. It's so cool that Oricorio is being there. They're all just freaking good. They're all freaking good in every tier they're in because of Terra. We used it in OU the other day. Guys, if you missed that video, where are you, Oricorio? What the hell? Anyway, if you missed that video yesterday, it was insane. Like, that was not clickbait. I don't know what I called it. There you go. It was basically really good. It was really, 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 really good, that live, man. Like, the people had swept. Ooh, and the thumbnail was fire. But anyway, Oricorio being such tested. But then we're going to the NU tier. So first off, if we're looking at NU, Indeedee male has fallen from UU to RU. From RU to NU. So Indeedee is down here. Now let's look at this tier. Let's look at this tier real quick. This is the male one. It's the faster one, I believe. That's the male one. Like, damn. Doesn't it look good, right? Good speed tier over every single fighting type. Scarf is really strong. You do have Umbreon, but you could potentially be calm mindsets as well. Basically, very fast, very strong, and breaks through every defensive core. And because of that, they are going to be suspect testing it. So let's actually read this super quick. Quick ban. Indeedee male was initially quick ban due to its amazing speed tier in the metagame, already dominated by fast, powerful psychic types. Indeedee's deep move pool, blah, 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 and you open psychic search cannot further boost Indeedee, but that, although psychic resist you, it has trick, it has choice items, can Terra, which can break through Umbreon and Chansey. You can Calm Mind plus Terra, Draining Kiss set. That's a big thing, right? Basically becomes Tapu Lele. You can Calm Mind plus Draining Kiss, which is very tough to beat. The dark types can have the positive match with Indeedee completely flipped by Terra. Despite all on paper merits, the DDI's current metagame already quite hostile to psychic types as seen by Bruxas and Metachamp. Yep, they kind of break through them anyway. It's just interesting to see, right? So interesting to see that happen as well. That the Mon ends up being suspect tested instantly when it comes down. So it's pretty cool. I mean, it's been a couple days, but it's pretty cool to see that. And then it just fell off from the RU tier itself. I mean, let's look at the RU everything, right? I'm sorry, but if you want to be a psychic type in RU, you got to be Gardevoir. You got to have the good dual stab prior to it, especially because Reverum runs max special defense, and there's Sylveon, which is not something you're breaking through. Yeah, you can be specs, just the trade-off isn't just very good. So RU to NU falls off, ends up being down there, and then Whiscash also drops. Whiscash is a really interesting Pokemon because I actually think it's really good this generation. In terms of support, right? In terms of support, can't be taunted because of its Oblivious ability. And then also this is basically all it does. Sets up spikes, sets up Solid Rock. That's all it does. That's literally all this Mon does. Surf, Earth Power, whatever. It has Dragon Dance, but nobody's using that, right? I put it there. But nobody's using that, right? It's a cool support Pokemon. It's bulky because of its HP stat, right? So it can sit on like Crook and things like that. Excuse me, Bold. And can just set up the spikes, can set up the Stealth Rock, and that's basically it when it comes to this Mon. Ended up dropping off. I don't think it's going to be a big deal because you can always use it in RU. But in terms of NU, like if you look at the NU tier, right, sits on Sandaconda, can sit on Muck, and just repeatedly spike in Stealth Rock. So I think it's good that the tier has something that can spike in Stealth Rock again. That way you're not forced to use Sandaconda as your only ground type. Also, it beats Terra Ice. Like it beats Terra Ice, what's it called? Jolteon. So like being able to spike Stealth Rock, which is pretty good in one, right? Like this tier doesn't have like, it's like Quillfish plus Sandaconda in one, but worse. But I just like the fact that it can end up doing this. So I think it's a good positive influence for the tier. Just gives you another spiker and Stealth Rocker that you can actually use. I'm sure Rabia and I will be doing a video very soon. Rabia, if you're listening to this, I don't know if you are. I'd love to do a video with you. I will also just hit you up on Discord about things, because I know you already have a Whiscash team. And then from BU to NU, well, let's talk about the lack of Haunter and Cacturne real quick. So if you look at PU, Haunter's number 8 in usage. Cacturne isn't up there, but Cacturne was a good Basculin, literally number 4, right? Basculin. Cacturne was a good Basculin answer, right? Just switches in, does not care. Has the water absorbed, so it doesn't really care, and then can get up spikes. Quaxwell being number 1 in PU is really cool because it's just a good rapid spinner. It's the only support they really have. But losing Haunter is big, and losing Cacturne as the switch-in is really big too for the tier. I love that Haunter is actually good in NU too. because they gave it Nasty Plot now, and also Terra Fairy with Dazzling Gleam is good on Scarf as well as Specs, because you're not revenge killed by knockoff. So really cool to see Cacturne, a good spiker. I'm talking to you guys about spikers, right? When it comes to the NU tier, and then like there's not a lot, right? Cacturne is something that could sit on Sandaconda, does get glared, and then can Sucker Punch. What's it called? It can Terra and can deal with Pixelmon to an extent. Can Sucker Punch Jolteon. It's just really interesting. Florges got banned, by the way, from NU, so that's why the dude is like trapped in a little prison right there. But Florges ended up getting banned from NU, which is something we predicted to eventually happen as well. I think the last thing I was saying was Florges got banned, but yes, it did. So yeah, Haunter then moved up pretty big for the PU tier. But let's talk about what's actually big for the PU tier. The fact that they got 40 new Pokemon, I think that's pretty crazy. So PU might have lost some Pokemon, but now it has a Daxbun. So now it has a Fairy type, like prior to terrestrializing, which I think is pretty cool. Where like obviously Mischievous can Terra type into a Fairy if it really wants to. Spidops has fallen from NU to PU. There's this dude that it's like Spidops for OU. I think this is their Twitter name. He loves Spidops, man. He really wants Spidops to be used everywhere. But now it will be in the PU tier. So Spidops being down here, I think is pretty funny. Necessary for like some hyper offense, like some Skuntank, Mischievous to block Basculin. I can see it. I can definitely see it. I like that Dugtrio is number 10, 14, number 10 in usage, but it has 15%. Charizard continues to fall. Charizard's usually PU. Don't get me wrong, but like Charizard lost everything. All these mons fell from NU. I think the biggest, craziest drop, by the way, all of them make sense, is Honchkrow. Besides that, Honchkrow falling off is crazy. But I mean, it just doesn't have the tools that it had before, right? Dude doesn't have superpower. Dude is missing its superpower. Can't break through steals. It's missing Roost, which is huge. So like it just fell off. That's about it. That's literally it. It is missing some of its greatest tools to be able to break through people. So this is like a Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Honchkrow, not the Platinum one, right? So like missing its tools, not really being able to break. That's why it fell off. NU had Florges, and yeah, basically NU had Florges, which was the premier Fairy, which got banned. So maybe Dashbun will be used again. Who knows? And then Crocalor had some use at a point with Eviolite and the Unaware and the Roaring set, but that was about it. I think it's Hisuian Zorua fell off. The people that were spamming it, I guess, stopped. So that Mon ended up not being NU anymore. And it was actually pretty cool in NU when I used it with Blender. It was legit. It was legit. Like, it was so legit that it ended up taking the title of the video and thumbnail, whereas like the video was not supposed to be about it. But in terms of when it comes to PU, again, I talked about it real briefly, but Zard was nerfed too, right? Charizard was nerfed. No Roost, which is the biggest thing when it comes to Charizard. Literally no Roost is the biggest thing, and no Defog. And the premier set last generation for Zard in PU was Defog, Roost, Hurricane, and Flamethrower. This was literally the premier set. It was a defogger for the PU tier, and now it can't do that. I'm sure with Home and stuff, because there's just like, they're back and forth, right? Will Home give you moves? Will Home not give you moves? Like, they're back and forth what's happening. We have people saying Home is not going to do it, and then, you know, Regieleki dropped. Apparently moves will be coming back, and then I don't know. I do not know if moves are coming back. If they are, great. Like, all these Pokemon get even better, and some of them get boring too. Not necessarily when it comes to PU, but Zard offensively looks really cool. Very good speed tier, right? Faster than damn near every mon up here besides Dugtrio. So that's pretty cool. Good speed tier, Fire Blast, Specs, I'm sure. You can do some manual Sun type crap, I'm sure. Crocalor, maybe as a Ghost type can be if it Terras can be a spin blocker. Dashbun being a Fairy type for the tier, I think is really interesting. But it's not that great to be a Fairy for the tier because we have a Poison, we have a Steel all the way up there. So it'd be interesting to see if some sort of support teams would that happen. Honchkrow Sucker Punch, I think, is extremely strong in Brave Bird. I think Brave Bird and Sucker Punch are probably best down here because if you look at the PU tier and you look at this, let's just type Steel types. Let's type Steel. You have two Steel types and then all the babies. They banned Magneton, which was the best steel type. You have Berserker, which is not going to be taking dark moves very well. Tinkertuff can work with Eviolite, obviously, and the rest of these are kind of, well, besides Pawniard, they're not as viable. I guess you could technically use Varoom because it does learn Parting Shot and Toxic Spikes, but not really as viable. So I think that's an interesting drop for the tier. That might be solid. As well, obviously, Spidops gives you Sticky Web support, and then Hisuian Zorua is really weird too because PU, like, it has a decent speed tier and can nasty plot and do things, but like I feel like PU also has like Indeedee and things if I want a strong normal type that can't touch dark types with their stab, right? I think that's a big one. That's really interesting. Like, let me know your thoughts on the PU tier. Obviously, I think the biggest thing is like Honchkrow and potentially Dashbun, Zard on like offensive teams and Sticky Web support, but you also have Masquerain down there. So, and then ZU, which is like I know it's not official, but this is below. This is ZU. This would be ZU right now. Now ZU got every damn mon in the game too. The ones that stand out for me when it comes to all these Pokemon down here, because I have played a bit of ZU. Wugtrio definitely stands out to me when it comes to ZU. I think Electrode is really interesting because it could basically be Regieleki, right? Electrode has like no coverage, right? Electrode has absolutely no coverage. But the fact that it can Terra Blast and Terra Blast Ice or Grass or whatever, I think it can be a mini Regieleki down here, which I think is pretty cool. Grumpig, nasty plot sets, probably comparable to Gothitelle but faster, but less bulky. However, it does have thick fat, which is cool for what, like Scovillain stuff. That's about it when it comes to there. Reboot looks really cool. Just U-turn. The thing about Reboot is like it's not bad, right? Good speed and good attack. And choice band sets with Flare Blitz. Please tell me you still have high jump kick, U-turn. I think you still have Gunk Shot too, right? Gunk Shot. Like this is very strong. Like this set is really strong. Has good moves and everything, and can run choice band and just kind of just spam it around and just U-turn around. I mean, it doesn't have. It's a good speed tier. It's a good speed tier because it's base 94 is it's really freaking good, right? You're unfortunately just shy of base 95. I wish I had like base 96 or something. So you're just shy of like base 95. So if you're fighting Envy and he's gonna go for headbutt with his Sawsbuck on you, you will get flinched. But good speed tier though, faster than Squawkabilly, which is pretty cool, and yeah, slower than Basculin though, which is pretty big, but really cool mon. I think it can Terra as well into a poison or fighter if it really wants to fight. Probably is really strong with that. If you look at the PU, the ZU usage stats, like number 1 is Sudowoodo. You freaking did it, bro. I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you. Sudowoodo. CTC predicted this, so I'm very proud that Sudowoodo is number 1 there. And Luxray as well. You guys are really doing it. Swallow, you guys are really doing it, man. The bottom of the barrel is really being... You're going to the top, man, of the bottom. Scoville number 4. Persian number 5. Toadschool. Look at these babies. Ghastly. Don't need no Haunter. Dunsparce. Really funny to see. And obviously Gothitelle as well. Like I said, I think Gothitelle versus Grumpig is really interesting because, like, technically, like I said, Grumpig is faster and it also has the thick fat, so it can eat hits from Scovillain, but Gothitelle is bulkier. So we'll see how that trade-off ends up working. The reason Sudowoodo is number 1, by the way, guys, for those that don't understand, it's because it's like the only rocker plus spiker in the tier besides Carkol. And I guess, excuse me, not Carkol, that's PU. Yeah, it's literally the only rocker and spiker in this damn tier, besides the Stone Journal that just came, but it's literally the only one. So that is why that is on 40 something, unless you want to use babies, right? So if you put Stealth Rock real quick, we'll put Stealth Rock. Get out of here. Stealth Rock, besides Dunsparce, like literally, unless you guys want to use babies, this is your options. These are your options. And then you have the super babies, right? You have the super babies, but these are basically your options for PU. ZU, excuse me, when it comes to Stealth Rock. So it makes sense that Sudowoodo would be there. Stone Journal is pretty interesting, right? Because really strong, really fast. Do you still have any of your moves? You still have Heavy Slam. You don't have Heat Crash, it looks like, which I think is sucky. But you have Earthquake, Heavy Slam, your Rock move, and then I guess Terra Blast. I think this mon has potential. I think this mon actually has a lot of potential when it comes to this tier. Like looking at the top mons, like look at them and look at Rock Polish and me just clicking my strong moves. Yeah, I think it has a lot of potential. I think it has a ton of potential, so it'll be interesting to see. I'll probably play a couple ZU games and see what's up. when it comes to that tier. And that's basically what I have today. What do you guys think about all the tier changes? Let me know down below, please. Obviously, subscribe as well if you do enjoy this content. And check out my Draco Shakers too. You guys have been going crazy with the support. I appreciate y'all. I really do appreciate y'all. Use code AIM, you know, you support me. Either way, if you buy, even if you don't use my code, you still support me if you buy a Draco Shaker, because it still counts as like, yeah, I sold a Draco Shaker. But yeah, if y'all want to, feel free to leave a like, subscribe. I'll see y'all in the next one. Check out my Draco Shakers. Peace.